Okay, traders, we are back. And what I'd like to really cover three, three trailing stops. So we know, for instance, that when you buy a bottoming tail bar stop or an elephant or bull 180 setup, let's say, stop. Okay. Or so we know the initial stop. Boom. Stop. So there is one stop adjustment and three trailing stops. Okay? There's one key stop adjustment. The stop adjustment is the move to break even. Now, many novices make this move to adjusting their stop to break even too fast. Do this too fast, and you're asking to be taken out of very viable plays. This creates consistently losing traders. The move to break even too early, too fast. But let's come back to the move to break even, because the move to break even should only occur after you have reached a point of taking a profit. A move to break even is not an appropriate move to me unless it's time to take some off the table, and now you're going to protect the remainder with a break even stop. Prior to that, the move is not big enough to move or significant enough to move to break even. Okay? So we're going to come back to that in a minute, but there are three types of trailing stops. Okay? There's the pivot trail. Okay? There's the moving average trail. And then there's the bar by bar trail. Now, let's cover each one. The pivot trail is very simple. It is when a stock rallies, has a multi-bar pullback, and then rallies again, leaving behind a V of some sort, or U. It's either a V or U. That pivot gets adjusted there. So let's say your initial buy was a bull elephant bar. Stop below the low. This is your initial stop, IS. And then only after this rally toward the high, you've got to almost be up near the high to really have it form appropriately. Then you have what is called pivot one. And this is the pivot trailing stop method. The pivot trailing stop method calls for you to be able to sit through pullbacks, to sit through multiple bar pullbacks, as long as your prior pivot is not violated. Now, of all the trailing stops, this one tends to capture the greater number of big giant whales, but they capture the big giant whales with the necessity of going outside of the swing trading category. The swing trading category is truly a few days to about a week, week and a half. This trailing stop method will take you well beyond that. And it is appropriate typically only for your back half if you want to see if you can go for the gusto. All right? That's the trailing stop method. And it can produce some really, really fat gains over a period of time. Again, you're blending with this method. You're blending swing with an element of core here. All right? That's the pivot trail. Now, then there's the moving average trail. The moving average trail is when, let's say, for instance, you're going to trail just under a key moving average. The two typical trailing moving averages that I teach are the 8 period for really tight, powerful trends, and the 20 period moving average for normal trends. You have both real tight and powerful, 8, and normal uptrends, 20. And this is where you just stay just a little bit below the 20. So it's constantly in motion, following your play along. Great for when your trade just is not really pulling back, not really giving you V's, not really giving you pivots. It gives you 1 or 2 days, small red bars, then goes up, but it's not really giving you this. It's this. It's more of a grind versus swings. It's closer to a beeline up, a gradual beeline, versus swing, 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 swing. Pivots are more appropriate for swings. Moving average for grinds to the upside. Moving average trailing stop. You stay right beneath it. Which one? A lot of traders say, well, Oliver, do I use the 8 or do I use the 20? The stock will tell you. If you get a grind that cannot and does not violate the 8, then it is obeying the 8. If your uptrend is more gradual, more normal, it's crisscrossing the 8, but it's not violating your 20, then it's the 20. It's whichever one the stock is making more relevant to the activity, to its activity. So that's your moving average trail. The stock dictates whether it's the 8 or the 20, you stay right beneath it, and it's best for grinds. It's best for the power trend upward that's not really swinging. It's grinding. Grinding and swinging are two different things. Swinging gets separated. Grinding doesn't get separated. Swinging goes wide. Grinding stays parallel. 20 period moving average. Stock. Parallel. Not this. Got the difference? Parallel versus swinging apart. Yes? All right. Good. Then we have the bar by bar. The bar by bar, right? is you have bought this elephant bar. Stop. 20. Okay. Now, okay, you got a nice little run here. It is clear that you are now in location 5. You decide that I am going to sell 1/2 of my position. I'm going to sell it now. My stop was originally here and maybe here. All right. You moved your stop to break even. Now you're playing with the house's money. Here, you're going to take 1/2 of your position. Let's say you could have taken it there. You wanted to wait a little bit more. You take 1/2 of your position here. Now you take this stop here and you go under this bar. You say, I am not going to allow my remaining half to take out this bar. As this goes higher, let's say you're here now. You took a half off. This goes higher. You might decide to stay 1 bar behind. So you were here. Now you're going to move your stop to here. Now so you move your stop to be under the last completed bar. The one that's moving, you give the freedom to. This is still trading. When this one stops trading and the next one begins, you move it right up to the most completed bar. And that's your bar by bar trailing stop method. The best time to do this is when you are already in location 5. The worst time to do this is before you get to location 5. You want to get cut off. If you want to minimize the number of times you get to location 5, then go to bar by bar before you get there. Go to bar by bar too fast. Go to break even too fast. This will diminish the times you ever see or visit location 5s. Bar by bar is for when you have already arrived at profitability. You are already at the point where you could really take it all, but bar by bar may be able to get you a little bit more. To go bar by bar before that is to take on an action that will surely and truly dramatically minimize your profit-taking, location 5 profit-taking opportunities. This is one of the key errors of a lot of novices. They go to tighten too quickly. They go to narrow and to protect too fast. You cannot put your stocks in so tight of a straitjacket. It's so ridiculous now that people have painted the protection as Intelligence. When I first started training traders, you couldn't get them to apply stops. It was hard. Stops were just not known or even understood or even looked at as being intelligent. Now it's almost swung too far to the other side. Everyone, but what about stops? The New York Stock Exchange recently announced the elimination of stops on the 26th of February, 2016. There will no longer be stops and good till cancel orders on the New York Stock Exchange. They're going the full route and way of the NASDAQ, finally. Most traders look at that as negative. I know it's not negative, but they look at it as negative. Why? Because the concept or the idea, the notion of a stop is now swung so far in the direction of everyone should be using stops and tightening and protecting really fast. And it's couched in the title or the label of being intelligent, and it's not when it's done too fast. You know? If you don't give your sports figure, your basketball player or your dancer, or you don't give them room to bend their knees, to dip, to squat, you limit their mobility, you limit their ability to leap. In order to leap, you must first squat. But if you don't allow your stock to squat, it won't be able to leap for you. You see? And that's where tightening too quickly comes into play. The early tightener doesn't want to experience any temporary pullback, which will limit opportunity. Opportunity comes after pullbacks, the best ones usually. So if you take out the pullbacks, take out the possibility of wiggling around a little bit, you really dramatically curtail your opportunities. So these are the 3 trailing stop methods. And when I teach this, a number of traders usually say, well, Oliver, which one? And I say, you're thinking wrong, all of them. But when do I apply which one? The stock determines when. When the stock is grinding, moving average. When the stock is swinging, pivot. When the stock is in location 5, bar by bar. Okay, one more time. When the stock is grinding and not swinging, not pivoting, moving average, trailing stop. When the stock is swinging and pivoting, but not really getting to location 5, the swings are swings, but they're not high enough to get to location 5. Pivoting. When you get to location 5, tighten to bar by bar. Take some off, tighten to bar by bar. Tell me you understand this. Does this make sense? How the market dictates based on what it's doing, which one of these you pull out of your pocket. So let me demonstrate one more time. You can be pivoting, but not getting to location 5. You see, now you're at location 5, but you weren't, so you could have been pivoting. Now you're bar by barring, bar by bar, up here. Then you could have been grinding. You're not really pivoting or location 5ing. It's trailing stop. Or even tighter, 8. Okay. And that's proper trailing. Okay. The break-even stop is normally one of the least used stops if you're doing it right. Because either you're going to go to a pivot on your first pivot, which now negates the need for a break-even stop. And the stop is pivot. You could go to 5 from here and then go bar by bar, but then it could become the next pivot. Okay? Or you could get in and the stock starts grinding, and then you move to moving average and you never got a chance to break even stop. So when does the break even stop come into play then? It's usually when you get an explosion right off the bat. You entered here. So now you're like, okay, look, I'm going to take some off the table right here. All right. I'm going to put the remainder break even. I'm playing with the house's money now. Now I hope, if I want to give it a chance, if it pulls back, I hope it's a shallow pullback, and then I get my pivot. Now I move from break even to pivot. Boom. Do you follow what I'm saying? Does this make sense? The break even is more used on an explosion right out of the blocks. But if you don't get that explosion right out of the block, let's say you get something like this. So you bought, stop, and you kind of get this. Now you can say, okay, pivot, pivot, location 5, take. Right? Or this could just be a grind and you go, okay, now moving average. Boom. So another thing I teach a trade is your stops, your trail is what you hope you don't have to lose. And I always explain it in the form of a circus, and you have a tightrope walker really high at the top of the circus, walking from one end of the circus tent to the other, but really high. And just in case today they do this, right, they'll have a net way below, just in case the person slips. They don't want to use the net, but it's there. I don't want to use this 20-period moving average trailing stop here, or this 8 or whatever it is. I don't want to use that. I'm hoping that as I'm trailing, what I will get is what I will get is location 5 to take. But if I get this instead, the net is there just in case I don't get location 5, just in case I don't get to the other side of the tent and I slip and fall. It's there for me. It's protecting my life. It's protecting my precious P&L. But what I'm hoping is that this is what I'm going to get out of this grind. All right. What I'm hoping, I'm not quite getting location 5, but now I'm going to pivot. I'm not getting height enough to take profit, but what I'm hoping as I'm pivoting, I'm hoping one of these gets to location 5. Now I take, and I never had to use my pivot trail. But just in case I slip and fall, it's there to protect my precious P&L. All right? As I get really extended into location 5, okay, I take 1/2, or say. Now, shoot, if I get higher, I'm going to bring that stop right there. Boom. Let's see if I get a little higher. And I might take half of the half here. Then, boom, on the next bar, move it up. Then maybe I take a little bit more. And then on the next bar, move it up until I get to my last lot where I can't split it anymore. And I'm just going to trail out of it bar by bar, see how high I get, see how high I get. I can't split this one, so I'm just going to bar by bar by bar by bar. Boom! Now I'm out of my last one. And this is how to use all three of these with the break even, which is when you enter and you go right straight to the upside and you take early. Now you're going to move to break even, playing with the market's money. It's beautiful, professional, orderly trading. When you see my let me do this for a second. Give me a minute here, second here. I'm going to show you this. See if I can get it up here for you. All right. Many of these same concepts, I told you they're universal in nature, right? So when you see, for instance, Vasily is one of my micro trading mentorees, right? But look at what she's done here. She has, I don't know if you can see it clearly enough, but she bought red bar takeout. So she bought a red bar takeout here, she's saying. All right. And so she is adding at 2 and 3. So 3 she sold. So she thinks she's got like a little 5 here. So she sold. She goes back in and adds on this bottoming tail bar here. If you can see it. And then she takes some off the table here. She takes some off the table here at 6. But what she does at 7, you can't really see it here. What she does at 7 is up here, she starts to go bar by bar. So she goes from pivoting. You see the pivot stop 1, pivot stop 2. I'm going to erase my markings. So this pivot, she adjusted from here to the pivot. As it gets here, she's taking some. And then from this pivot, she decides, I'm going to go bar by bar. But this was an error. Because you only go bar by bar, where? What location? Right. So based on the 8-period moving average, which is, remember, the stock tells you which moving average is relevant. Is it the 8 or is it the 20? Well, the stock is telling you that the 8 is relevant and the 20 is not relevant. So you must use the 8 as your guide for location 5s. So really, you have a grind here. So the proper trail is moving average. You see? Not bar by bar. Bar by bar took her out of the trade here, and she missed this. Whereas that moving average would have gotten her all the way to the 5. You know? So you know, great trade, $2 or more, or whatever it is, but it's shortchanged still because of the move to tighten, which is a very common error. The move to tighten in a grind zone, the move to tighten was the moving average trail. She went to bar by bar too prematurely, got knocked out, and she missed this. Great trade, but missed what could have been an even greater trade, you know? And that you can see, let's see if high does the guild right. Not sure, but looks like he's buying. Red bar takeout, buying. I like his adjustments. I like the adjustment from here. The adjustment to this pivot here. All right, he goes from here. So remember pivots, guys. Remember pivots are this way or this way. So this is a pivot and this is a stop adjustment point and that's a stop adjustment point. It's either going to be down or sideways. That's how stocks rest, right? So they go up and then they come down to rest, or they go sideways to rest and then move back up. So when they go down to rest and go back up, it's the pivot. When they go sideways and then go back up, it's the base. So what you see here is pivot or base, however you look at it, and then base, see? Base, stop. And look, the location 5, take, and the remainder here. But see, here, instead of keeping this here in this location 5, it could have gone to bar by bar and got out earlier. Only thing I just want you to understand is that you go to bar by bar in location 5. It's the only option. Now, in their case, it's a little bit different because micro trading is a little different from swing trading, where they're not supposed to go bar by bar in the first move to 5, because the first move to 5, you want to live through this pullback, even if it's a pullback from 5. You don't want to go bar by bar in the first one because you will miss the secondary move. So it's different. Whereas a swing, you can go bar by bar to that 5, that first initial 5, because you're only, in swing trading, you're only looking for the swing part and you're out. You're not looking to live through this as much. The only time you live through the pullbacks, let me get out of this for a second. The only time you live through the pullbacks is when they're tight. So let me put this back up here. Let me live through the pullbacks like this. You know, they're kind of mild then, you know. But once you go to 5, you want to take. Now, if you consciously say, I'm going to take half and live through the next pullback, that's a conscious decision. That's fine. Let me adjust. So that's how we do the trails and the profit taking. You want to try to take on green when you profit take. However, don't forget that there are also part of the bar by bar, and this is my last point here, part of the bar by bar is my 1/3 and 1/2 concept. So sometimes the bar that shoots up is so big, when you go to bar by bar, you don't want to be here. It's just too much green to give back. So then you can use the right under 1/2 mark. And sometimes it's so big, that's too much to give back. I don't want to give back all that profit. Then you go to 33%. That's the tightest. These are bar by bar versions, but really you do these alternative versions, the 55% version I call it, or right below 1/2, and then the 1/3 version, only when the bar is so big that you can really look at it as 1, 2, 3 pieces, kind of on top of each other instead of them being separate. They're just on top of each other. Make sense? Okay, now, what you are to do is to, at this particular point in the swing trading program, here's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be out there identifying locations, identifying events that happen in the locations, and posting those things in the Facebook Swing, Oliver's Facebook, the Facebook Oliver Swing Trading team. And this gets your comrades, your fellow traders commenting, me commenting, or whatever, tweaking, correcting. Not quite. That's not quite location 5, and that's part of the experience. You are also supposed to be watching me identify real swing trading plays through the tweets and things of that nature. And so we play potentially together from what we come up with in our going back and forth in the Facebook group. We play potentially together on things I identify and tell you that I'm swinging through the tweets. And this is the combined overall experience. Now, you can get assigned a stock that you are responsible for the colony, the Facebook colony as well, so that you're not necessarily required to comment whenever an event happens at the right location in every stock. Your responsibility is your assigned stock that you should never miss: a bottoming tail bar, an elephant bar, a bull 180, a red bar takeout, a topping tail bar takeout, immediate or delayed, a breakout, or a double deep scenario. All right? And that's the combined thing. And occasionally we'll have study sessions that look at the stocks and the various key averages to see what's sort of lining up, where we are in the overall cycles, so that we can get our thinking on the same page. Let me see where we are here. A minute here. So let's quickly cover a few things before we close out here on trailing stops and stop adjustments. If you happen to have bought This bull elephant bar, because you are fairly decently below the 20-period moving average, it originated from location 4. You're going to give it a shot, enter, stop below the low, okay? And you get your initial move to the upside, all right? Now, what's interesting here is that when you're not in a well-defined uptrend, you can't use the prior high as your location 5. You judge your location 5s from the origination point, okay? So nothing wrong with taking portion of your profits here up in this area. However, you want to hold on and see if there's a secondary leg and turn this into maybe a swing / core, you're going to have to let this fall back on you. And you're going to have to let this fall back with the idea that it could potentially stop you out, or if this gets high enough, you move this to break even, and now you're playing with the house's money. But you will have to let this fall back on you, and then potentially there's another add point where you take this half, put it back into your play, and there's your secondary move, and now you're stop adjusting there to the pivot. All these are possibilities, or it's just a brand new play for you. Here, if you happened to have gotten in anywhere down here, odds are low that you did, but let's say you did. Here, this straight up move here, you're definitely in location 5. If your stop was here, it's certainly not there now. You're going bar by bar here in location 5. Nothing wrong with that. But having already taken some off, I want you taking off on the green side in an anticipatory way. I don't want you waiting for trouble. The waiting for trouble is the break back down, but that's okay on a remaining lot to do. The initial sell should really be in the direction of in your desired direction before trouble. It's anticipatory. And yes, I do believe in the incremental sell approach. I just believe it's better that you break your cells up at least, the very least 2 pieces. You just over time get more. Sometimes you're going to kick yourself. Why didn't I take everything when I took? I just got stopped out on my back half. I could have had double the profitability. But over time, you begin to learn and see. You make way more money selling 2 times or 3 times than you do taking it all. How many times have you got a nice little game, thought you were a hero, only to still be kicking yourself to this very day that you didn't hold on? That is the key experience that most people have over time. It's not that they never had winning plays, it's that they never kept them. They never let them go to see how far they can get. Okay, if you are in here and your stop is there, it can't stay there up in this area. That's just dumb to keep it there. So let's say you want it to go for the gusto on a second half. So let's say you're out of half. You got the location 5. And you say, okay, now I'm going to move to break even. Now I'm going to let this drop and find its next pivot. Okay, fine. Now you got your next pivot. But you are at break even here because this is high enough to move to break even now, and you've already taken. When this is dropping, you don't know where your next pivot is going to be. You have to trust it with this stop in place and be willing to stop out. But you got to trust it to drop and find that pivot. That's how you get the big score. You know? It's the only way to get the big score. You can turn the swing into a big score. The swing is really not a big score. It can be relative to a swing, big relative to a swing. Wow, I grabbed $5-6 on that move. Wow. I even grabbed $10 on that move. But the big score is the converting of the swing into a semi-core. You know, you bought this bottoming tail bar off the 20. You added on the RBI. Okay. You let this pull back. You boom, you get a big giant. This is like what? 50-point gap up. You take. But you say, you know what? I'm going to take 2/3 because it's a big gap up. I'm going to leave a little bit in there and see. So now you have the potential to go for the gusto with it. And you can do things like, okay, this red bar got taken out here. This is like a delayed RBI. I mean, a delayed bull 180 or red bar takeout, no follow through, right? So now my stop gets adjusted there. But this is not really giving me location 5. And the 20 is not relevant anymore. So now I'm going to move to an 8 period trailing stop. And maybe that 8 is there. Okay. But anyway, this is all trade management. On the short side, you short, let's say here, stop above this base. That's it. Okay. You get enough to take part off the table here. Remember, you should always practice taking half or something off first and leaving something. Might get stopped out occasionally on the rest, but it will, like just like this, boom, took some off the table here. You let it come back on you. All right. Then here's a GBI. Here's your quintessential ad event. What's the GBI? Single green, red next to it, red next to it, red trigger below. You put the half back on. Next take. Distance, distance. All right. Now you bring that stop down. If you want to pivot out of this, you would just bring your stop down to pivots and try to ride. And you turn it into a mini core on the back half or what have you. Or on your last lot. You can multiple sell 2, 3, 4, 5 times. It depends on your size. So I want to see how some of you develop into, you will start off capturing the swing, and then you'll start to use your back half to try to capture the swing to the semi-core. Big money's there. Whew, big money. You grab a nice little gain on the swing, and then you grab the whale on the conversion of your swing to the core. This is going to become so important when the market turns to the downside in earnest, because we're gonna nail some nice shorts, but to convert them into that real big move where it's like, dude, you realize we shorted that at 120 or we shorted that at 90 and it's 20? You know, crazy. Any questions on this so far? Remember, this is the theory part of your training, which is necessary. It's important. But the application of it is with the Facebook group and with our plays off the Twitter signals and stuff. So let us quickly summarize. You know that there is only one cycle in existence, the bell-shaped curve. This cycle is broken into or divided into 4 sections, 2 being bull, 4 being bear, 1 and 3 being transitional or baton passing periods. The best way to play this cycle is to do your swing buys on the conversion of 1 into 2s and to sell them before stage 3 happens, or what we call location 5, on the way toward approaching location 5. Right? We know that there are 2 primary moving averages that we use, the 20, the 200. Sometimes the 20 is replaced by the 8 when the stock tells you that the 20 is no longer relevant because it's not anywhere near it. There are 5 key locations on the 20, which is touching, a little bit above, a little bit below, far below, and far above location 5. Far below and far above location 5. The events, there are, 7 to 9, depending upon how you number them. Tail bars, 3 versions. Tail bars with red, green, and no color. Elephant bars, okay? Bull 180s or 180 bars, immediate. Red bar takeouts, delayed versions of Bull 180s. Topping tail bar takeouts, all right? Immediate and delayed versions, right? And you have breakouts, which we discussed should really only be considered when the base is tight, narrow, not wide and whippy, whether you're buying the base after a rally or buying the breakout of a base after a drop. They both should be narrow. And we covered the concept of double deep. This location down here, your stock is deep below the 20. The 20 is deep below the 200. And you have a key event. This is the only appropriate time to buck the trend. And then we talked about your 3 trailing stop modes and when it's appropriate to move your stop to break even. All right. You pivot trail when a stock is swinging but not high enough to reach 5, but it's producing V bottoms or U bottoms. You can adjust to the V's and the U's. You do a moving average trail when the stock is not reaching 5, but it's grinding higher. Little bars, slow, but grinding, parallel to the moving average. You can adjust your initial and start trailing with the key moving average. Sometimes it'll be the 8, sometimes it'll be the 20. Bar by bar is really only appropriate once you do get to location 5, once you have already taken profits. And you want to see if it goes higher. And now you go bar by bar. And then there's a tighter version of bar by bar, which is the 50% of the bar adjustment or the 33% of the bar adjustment, but only when the bar is a wide range bar. And losing the entire bar is too much. Now let's put these things together in the Facebook room and on Twitter. But these are the key components to proper swing trading. Your best odds are going to come from when you are playing a stock that is in a 2 and it is experiencing a mini 4. Your best odds are going to come when the market is in a 2 and your stock is in a 2 and your stock is experiencing a mini 4. That mini 4 could get deep below its 20-period moving average, but it's still a mini 4 within the general context of the stock's major up move. Your best odds come from that scenario. Okay? This system, this approach forces you to only basically lose one bar. Your stop is usually under the bar you buy. But when you win at location 5 with mini bars. This approach forces you to buy low because you're concentrating around the 20 or below it. Can't possibly buy high. It forces you to sell high, always selling in location 5. It has all the components of proper market play. When to adjust and not to do that too soon. When to trail, which one to trail, which type to trail. When to be heavier than others, the deeper below your 20. The more delayed the event, the heavier. The deeper below, the heavier. Delayed events are more powerful. All the components are here. So, for Monday morning, come up if you can and post it in the Facebook group. Come up with a stock that you believe should come out of the blocks in the first part of the week and produce a nice swing trading gain by the middle to end of the week. Let me see what you come up with. Take 15 or 20 minutes, run through some things, and let me review them tomorrow. Let's see who comes up with the biggest winning play for next week. We will judge it on Friday afternoon. Who had the biggest move? Which move was the most immediate? Who got the location and the event just right? Deal? Can you do that? Okay, traders. Great. The following month, we will have another follow-up swing event. Understand that in this program, traders, that no matter how much I tweak or alter or improve or change this event, this is your event. I encourage that you take it over and over again. Each time I cover it, I decide to focus on different things. The next event, I might focus a little bit more on something that I didn't quite focus as much on this event. It is the continual taking of the event that is going to make every single concept yours at the foundational level of you. The goal is for this not to be my approach, but to ultimately be your approach. And then the ultimate goal is for it just to be what you do, like you walk to the kitchen for a glass of orange juice. It's just what you do. It's a part of you, you know? So the goal is to get it to that particular point where it's just what you do. This is just how I trade. This is just what I do in the market. All right, you've been great as always. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. I'll be looking forward to your posts in the Facebook room, and I'll be looking forward to congratulating our winner on Friday afternoon.